What's up, guys? We are back with a big Week 7 of college football picks for Saturday, October 12th. Week 6 went great, going 8-4 over Friday and Saturday combined, but our college football expert at StumpTheSpread.com has been absolutely on fire. He is 25-11 over his last 36 premium plays. Absolutely insane stuff out there. We have a great video for you today covering 13 games and giving you my best leans on the side and over-under on each game. If you want to win all of your bets here in Week 7, hit that like button. It's good luck and show support for the channel and all the hard work we're putting in here every single day. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on our daily content, and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on the value of the early lines. You can now also sign up for a channel membership by clicking the little join button right below the video. Members get exclusive early access to all NFL and college football videos and get their names up on screen just like right now. I really appreciate the support from all of you. Seeing that badge next to your comments absolutely warms my heart. Our videos are sponsored by StumpTheSpread.com. We have a team of experienced cappers over there for every major sport, currently covering NFL, NCAA football, MLB, NHL, UFC, and we have the NBA season tipping off here in just a few days. NCAA football has been one of our most profitable sports over the years, and we have a seasoned expert capper over there that has been killing it so far this season. Like I said, guys, he is 25-11 over his last 36 premium picks. Click the link in the description if you're interested in signing up, and also to join our free email list to get the occasional free or premium pick straight to your inbox. The email list is also where we will keep you updated on our $100 to $10,000 challenge with new bets going on this weekend. Comment below with any bets you're looking at today, and we will give you our best advice on all of them. We are committed to responding to every single comment every day, so let us know anything you want to say about my picks, these videos, or anything you see here. As always, our favorite picks will be in the pinned comment down below. Now let's get into our first game of the day. We've got South Carolina going on the road to take on number 7 Alabama. South Carolina comes into this game fresh off of a tough loss, and at 3-2 on the season, not really the beginning of the year they were hoping for. 1-2 so far in SEC play last week against number 12 Ole Miss. Things did not go great. They lost that game 27-3. So rough stuff there for the Gamecocks. Could not get much going in that game. It was pretty rough out there, honestly, guys. The passing game didn't look good. One turnover, no touchdowns there. The running game, 151 yards, but it took them 43 attempts, and they got 0 touchdowns on the board there. Rough stuff. They lost a fumble also, so 2 turnovers in a game where you only score 3 points. Just not a very good deal. And they did do maybe a decent job of limiting the pass, but they didn't look good at all against the run. And overall, just not a very good game for South Carolina. Overall this year, guys, they opened up the season pretty strong. Haven't liked what they've shown in their last 2 SEC games. Home losses in recent weeks against LSU and Ole Miss. 3-2 overall isn't an amazing record. They had a tough time getting things going on the offensive side of the ball, and yeah, just not a great look. If they have a similar offensive showing this week, it's going to be a really, really rough scene there for the Gamecocks. So we'll see what they can do here going up against Alabama, who comes into this game fresh off of a shocking defeat. A huge letdown spot for him for sure after that crazy, insane win over Georgia, losing at Vanderbilt 40-35 last week. Rough stuff, guys. Not what we would have expected to see. Incredible celebrations there in Vanderbilt last week, guys. We saw Monroe look kind of pedestrian, getting picked off once, throwing 1 touchdown. The running game really couldn't get going for Alabama, which was crazy to see. Just not what they needed. Not what they needed in this game that featured a ton of scoring. That's a great way, establishing the run is a great way to control the clock, but they just were unable to do it. And the defense got absolutely shredded once again. Couldn't stop the pass there. Couldn't really stop the run either. Weren't generating turnovers. Just a really rough look. They generated 0 turnovers. When you lose that turnover battle 2-0 against a talented opponent, things can get pretty hairy, and they sure did there for what was once the number 1 Alabama Crimson Tide. So a very tough loss there. Obviously, they're going to need to bounce back here. They're coming off that loss, so a key bounce back spot. Obviously, an embarrassing loss last week against Vanderbilt. This is a good spot for them to refocus their efforts coming off of that loss. They're one of the most talented teams in the nation, no doubt about that. Can't afford to lose any more games if they're going to make it into the college football playoffs. So we'll see if they can pull things together here. Looking at the numbers for this game, we've got Alabama at -21.5. We've got an over-under of 50.5 in this game. South Carolina 3-2 against the spread this season. They're also 3-2 to the under. Alabama is 3-2 against the spread this season as well. They are 4-1 this year to the over, which kind of plays into that whole situation there with the these super high scoring games with their defense not really being able to live up to what we're accustomed to seeing from Alabama defenses. So in terms of the over under in this game, guys, I'm going to be leaning just slightly here towards the over, just based on Alabama's defense being so bad and their offense being very, very good. But not too interested in the over-under in this one, guys. I'm much more interested in Alabama to win this game. If you can find them at minus 21, I think that's an excellent spot. Minus 21.5, obviously not quite as good there with the hook, but I think we see Alabama come out and absolutely prove a point in this game with a solid blowout win against South Carolina. I think there's a chance this game could be a shutout. So like I said, not super interested in that over-under, but I do think this is a great spot to jump on the Alabama Crimson Tide here as a big home favorite in a huge bounce back situation. Next on the docket, guys, we've got the Washington Huskies going on the road to take on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Washington comes into this game 4-2 on the season, fresh off of a big win last week. They were very impressive in that 27-17 win over number 10 Michigan. Obviously, Michigan's a team we've been feeling like was a little bit overvalued, and yeah, it turns out it was right. Great there for us to nail that pick. Feels pretty good. This Washington team they stormed the field after that win over Michigan. Don't really blame them too much. Husky Stadium was going absolutely nuts. Will Rogers looked good in the passing game. He did have an interception, so that's something he needs to clean up for sure, but limiting the damage to only one turnover for the entire game there for Washington is great. The running game looked very playable. Jonah Coleman looked great. 18 carries, 80 yards, a touchdown out there. Just very good stuff across the board, and holding Michigan to only 17 points. The defense really showed up, generating 2 turnovers. Once again, you see a team winning that turnover battle 2-1, not 2-0, but still very good stuff. They really limited the pass, did a good job standing up to that Michigan running game. Even though they gave up 174 yards on the ground, those were some tough yards. So very good stuff there from the Washington Huskies. They're going to be hoping to carry that over into another, not nearly as tough of an opponent as Michigan, I wouldn't think, but we'll see how that goes here, taking on the Iowa Hawkeyes. The Hawkeyes come into this game fresh off of a blowout loss at the hands of Ohio State. Yeah, we were losing on the road against the top 3 team in the nation. I don't think you should be too embarrassed, but 35-7 probably wasn't exactly what they had in mind. Things did not go great for Iowa in that game. I guess no major shock there, but yeah, they got on the board there in the fourth quarter, or it was going to be a shutout. They could not get anything going in the passing game. The running game looked all right, but when you're down so bad, you have to be able to throw the ball to have a chance to come back. So we'll see if they can, remedy any of that here in this game. They will be playing at home, so that's a step in the right direction, but this is a team that relies very heavily on their defense. They did generate, a couple turnovers in that game against Ohio State, but yeah, they just couldn't stop the offense consistently there, and their offense did nothing. So definitely probably a team that's pretty excited to be taking on a more normal strength opponent in this game. Going up against Washington, though, could be a bit tough. This should be a defensive battle, in my opinion, guys, with the points coming at something of a premium, giving this field goal some value. Looking at the numbers here, guys, we've got Iowa at -3. We've got an over-under of 42.5. Washington 5-1 to the under. Iowa 2-3 against the spread, 4-1 to the over. So a little bit of contradictory trends there. Washington came through for us against the spread as the weekly Saturday free pick, so we'll definitely take that. Covering against Michigan was great. We feel Washington is better than their overall resume could possibly indicate, and they should keep getting better here as the season goes on. We like their quarterback situation. That's looking very good. Iowa just not having a great time right now. They are in a little bit of a bounce back spot, guys, but I just don't think they really have the talent to hang with Washington in this game. Go ahead and give me Washington at +3 in this one. If you wanted to take them, just straight up to win this game, that would make some sense to me as well. In terms of the over-under here, I don't have a great lean. I would maybe lean slightly towards over 42.5. It's a very small number, but really, guys, I think the value in this game is definitely on the Washington Huskies and the points. Next on the docket, guys, we've got one of the marquee games on the schedule. We've got the number 1 Texas Longhorns going on the road to take on number 18 Oklahoma. The Longhorns come into this game absolutely flying, guys. They haven't faced a lot of super tough tests yet this year. Mississippi State last week, they won that game 35-13, so maybe a little bit of a rougher game, but yeah, they took care of business, no problem. Arch Manning looking pretty good out there, and I really don't think it matters who the Longhorns end up with under center in this game. I think they're going to be absolutely okay. Arch Manning looking ready to go. 26 of 31, 325 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, so very good stuff there. And we did see him run the ball 6 times for 33 yards and a touchdown there, so it seems like we've got a Manning out there that can now run the ball too, so very crazy stuff. We did have a couple turnovers there for the Longhorns. We saw Jaden Blue. He put the ball on the turf twice, lost it both times. that is not going to work. That is not a recipe to be getting a lot more carries there. So we'll see how that goes, see how often they want to trust him with the ball in this one, but that could be a little bit of a rough situation there. Not loving that, but overall, guys, things looking good for the Texans. They gave up no passing touchdowns, only 144 yards through the air last week, so great stuff there. Pretty much dominated Mississippi State. They did give up 150 rushing yards, but it took Mississippi State 50 rushes to get those yards. So yeah, rough stuff there. We saw the Longhorns generate a turnover in that game. Up and down the roster, guys, this is just looking like an absolutely elite team. We expect them to continue to prove how good they are out there on a weekly basis. Things just continue to look better and better there for Texas, and we'll see if they can keep things rolling here against a tough opponent in something of a rivalry game, guys, taking on the Oklahoma Sooners. They're coming into this game fresh off of a 27-21 win over Auburn, a bounce back for them after a 25-15 loss against then number 6 Tennessee. So yeah, a loss against Tennessee doesn't look too bad on the resume, but when you look back, that 16-12 win over Houston, that's not looking so great. So we have a few questions about this Sooners team, but overall, I'm not going to be hating on them too much. Last week, guys, against Auburn, we saw some good stuff. They did take them 17 points there in the fourth quarter to snag the win. The passing game just does not look elite. The running game can get some stuff done, and this defense is very, very good. I mean, we saw Hawkins Jr., 161 yards passing, 10 of 15 passes completed. He was the leading rusher as well, so a lot falls on this guy's shoulders, and is he going to be able to, have the same kind of impact here going up against the ultra elite talent and speed of the Texas Longhorns? We'll have to see, guys. That is I'm not saying it's impossible, but that is a very, very big ask for a team that seems to be at least something of a one-man show out there. Yeah, not loving a ton of stuff I'm seeing here for Oklahoma, generally speaking, on offense. Last week, holding Auburn to 21 points. That's good. Gave up a lot to the pass there. Gave up quite a bit to the run as well, so they are going to have their hands full. This is a Texas team that can move the ball however they choose to. They've got a lot of talent out there, so we'll see what happens. But I don't know if this Oklahoma defense is really going to be able to hold up as well in this matchup. But I'm not saying it's impossible. Guys, looking at the numbers for this game, we've got OU are plus 14.5 playing at home. Yeah, so Longhorns, pretty significant favorites in this one. We see Texas, they are 4-1 against the spread this season, 2-2-1 to the over-under. Oklahoma 3-2 against the spread, 3-2 to the under this year. Guys, in terms of a side in this one, it's a kind of chalky play, but I do think we see the Texas Longhorns come out on top in this game. It being over 14 now at 14.5, maybe a little less appealing, but I do think we're going to see the Longhorns get a comfortable win and cover here. Pretty much just a blowout win. I think Oklahoma's really going to have a hard time moving the ball against them in general, and I think the Longhorns maybe not going to be scoring at will, but I think we will comfortably see them put up 30-plus points in this game. So looking at the over-under 48.5, I would maybe lean slightly towards the under here, but I'm not super interested in this over-under once again, guys. Just not an over-under that I think has a ton of value, but I do think siding with the Texas Longhorns at minus 14.5 makes a lot of sense. Hey guys, jumping in here with a quick ad break. First of all, this is a great time to sign up at StumpTheSpread.com. Signing up for a premium membership gets you access to our entire team of cappers covering MLB, NCAA Football, UFC, and the NFL. If you just want to test out the service, a great way to do that is by joining our free email list, which will get you the occasional free or premium pick straight to your inbox. Just to clarify some of the questions we've been getting, I'm not the NCAA Football capper for StumpTheSpread.com. These YouTube picks are obviously free to everyone and are just what I'm seeing out there. We have an expert with nearly 15 years of experience that covers NCAA football, and the research he puts in keeping track of all of these teams is actually wild. His in-depth knowledge has made college football one of our most profitable sports, bringing tons of value to our premium members. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you're new, and become a channel member for early access to all of our NCAA football and NFL videos. Now, guys, back to the games. Next up on today's schedule, guys, we've got the Penn State Nittany Lions going on the road to take on the USC Trojans. Penn State up to number 4 in the country now. Have to be feeling fantastic about that. A very solid 27-11 win last week over UCLA. Nice to follow up a good game against Illinois with a solid win, to back it up. No letdown there. Good stuff there from the Nittany Lions. 27-11, not a massive blowout there over a team like UCLA, but they've got to be happy with it. They pretty much dominated this game from the very beginning. We saw Drew Aller look good in the passing game, guys. 237 yards and a touchdown. No turnovers there through the air. Very key stuff there. The Penn State running attack didn't actually look amazing in that game, by the standards that they usually look. I mean, we did see, Allen, 21 carries, 78 yards. Decent stuff there. Nothing wrong with that. He did have a touchdown. Also, 2 rushing touchdowns overall. Nothing bad there. And the Penn State team did not turn the ball over, which is obviously a huge deal. Limit those turnovers, you're going to find yourself in a lot of good positions. They looked okay against the passing game, gave up a lot of short passes, but nothing too deep, at least generally speaking. We also saw them look good against the run there. This defense, pretty solid stuff out there against UCLA, so we'll see what they can do here against a tougher opponent, but generally speaking, guys, I like what we're seeing right now from Penn State, so loving that. We'll see what they can do here going up against the USC Trojans, a team that's had some pretty wild swings this year. I mean, yeah, week one, things got off to a great start, but it's been a little bit weird since then. That loss at Michigan, a nail-biter 27-24 loss, and then last week, guys, very rough stuff, losing at Minnesota 24-17. Tough stuff there. Not what you're wanting to see as a USC fan. A rough way. You don't want to be losing games to a team like Minnesota. Yeah, not great. They're having a little bit of a rough time here, falling out of the top 25. We saw Miller Moss, 2 interceptions, 200 yards passing, 1 passing touchdown. Not what you're hoping for. You got to take better care of the ball. They wasted an insane rushing performance there from Woody Marks. 20 carries, 134 yards in a touchdown, despite his longest carry only being 20 yards. This dude is an absolute monster there in the running game. We saw 3 total turnovers there from USC, though, 2 interceptions and a lost fumble. That is not very often going to result in wins, guys. You have to value the football. If you don't, bad things are going to happen. On defense, guys, they could not stop the Minnesota rushing attack, something that is probably a concern here going up against Penn State. They did a decent job of limiting the pass, but they didn't generate any meaningful, passing turnovers there. They did get 1 fumble recovery, but not necessarily a banner day there from the USC defense. You're going to have to do a little bit more than that to slow down the run if you want to find success. So looking at the numbers for this game, guys, we see that USC is getting 4 points at home, or it's actually down to 3.5 points at home. So that seems interesting. We've got an over-under of 50.5. Penn State 3-2 against the spread this season, 4-1 to the under. USC is 3-2 against the spread, and they are 3-2 to the under also. So yeah, guys, USC has not looked great in Big Ten play, struggling in their losses against Minnesota and Michigan. If USC couldn't score consistently against Minnesota's defense, gonna be a rough game for them against Penn State here, a much better defense. Outside of their head-scratching competitive win over Bowling Green, Penn State has looked great here, definitely looking like a top 5 team in the nation. The Nittany Lions are good in road environments so far, blowing out West Virginia on the road. This might be a situation where USC ends up being better at home in Big Ten play than on the road, but so far, guys, the results have me leaning towards Penn State and their defense in this one. Go ahead and give me the Nittany Lions here at -3.5. We're very happy that line has shifted a bit in our favor. I think it's a great spot for them. In terms of the over-under here, guys, 50.5 points seems like a ton. I also think the under is a very reasonable spot in this game, but we are very likely just going to be going ahead and putting the Nittany Lions at -3.5 straight into that pinned comment. Rolling right along here, guys, we are looking at the California Golden Bears going on the road here to take on the number 22 Pittsburgh Panthers. Cal comes into this game fresh off of back-to-back losses, guys. They lost at FSU in that really weird, low-scoring 14-9 game. Then they came back home and got, a heartbreaking loss there, a 39-38 loss against then number 8 Miami. So yeah, rough stuff there. This team has been very competitive, but opening up ACC play 0-2 has to be kind of a kick in the teeth. Last week in that very tough, very close loss there against the Miami Hurricanes. Yeah, very rough stuff. Gave up a huge come from behind, like a huge lead there to lose. They were up 25 points at one point, like rough stuff there for the Golden Bears. Things looked good in the beginning of the game, don't get me wrong, but the fourth quarter was a disaster. Mendoza looked all right out there. That interception was pretty costly. 11 of 22, for 285 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Not necessarily a right home about it kind of day. The Cal rushing attack also didn't look amazing. We saw lots of different guys used, but not a ton of success. 25 carries, 73 yards, 2 touchdowns, so that's nice, but yeah, not the best stuff out there. Turning the ball over only once probably feels pretty bad to lose that game, a tied turnover margin, but yeah, rough stuff there. They really struggled against the Miami running attack. They struggled against the passing game, just not a very good day on defense there for the Cal Golden Bears. So we'll see what they can do here going up against Pitt, who comes into this game absolutely cruising, a 34-24 win at UNC last week. I'm not going to say they faced the toughest opposition, and they have won a ton of super duper close games, guys. A lot of really close stuff, but last week got the job done there on the road against UNC, so a solid win there to stay undefeated. Pitt, they've just made their way pretty comfortably. We saw Holstein 3 touchdowns, 381 yards. He was picked off once. We saw the running game continue to look very, very good for Pittsburgh there. So really not a lot of negatives, just that one turnover there in the passing game. So we'll see how that can, continue to go here. They did a decent but not elite job of limiting the pass there from North Carolina. They did struggle a bit against the run, so that's something of a concern here, but they will be hoping to improve that a little bit, and they didn't generate any turnovers. So not maybe super stoked up here about this Pitt defense, but generally speaking, guys, they are a team that you have really no choice but to feel pretty good about so far this season. Like, they've done some excellent stuff. They're one of the best passing teams in the nation. They're one of the highest scoring teams in the nation. So things looking pretty good here for Pittsburgh. They come into this game 3.5-point favorites. We've got an over/under of 58.5 in this game, so quite a few points. Cal 3-2 against the spread this year, 4-1 to the under. Pitt is 5-0, so still undefeated here against the spread, and at 3-2 to the over. Guys, looking at this game, it's a big bounce back spot here for Cal. 3.5 points, though, not very many. Really rough stuff. What is their reaction going to be after those heartbreaking losses? Unfortunately, on the side here, guys, I'm unable to give you a lean. This is a premium pick over at stumpthespread.com, but I do think there is some value in this game on that under. 58.5 is a ton of points. I haven't been necessarily in love with either one of these defenses, but both teams do like to run the ball. That can shorten the game a little bit. I think we come in under 58.5 total points. But guys, if you want our premium lead on this one, unfortunately, you got to go over there to stumpthespread.com, where our guy has been on an absolute heater on college football. Next up, guys, we're looking at the Louisville Cardinals going on the road to take on the Virginia Cavaliers. The Cardinals come into this game fresh off of back-to-back losses, losing 31-24 at Notre Dame. Playing at Notre Dame can be a bit rough. Then last week, guys, they lost against SMU 34-27. So losing some pretty competitive games. They got their season off to a good start, but things have cooled off significantly. Last week against SMU, definitely some bumps in the road there. The game was close there in the beginning, but yeah, just could not hold on there in the second half. We saw, just kind of a mixed bag. We saw some turnovers there, not great. The running game looked really good. The passing game also looked decent, just that defense could not get the job done. And yeah, that one costly interception, pretty rough stuff out there. A nice, an 86-yard touchdown pass. Very cool stuff. But yeah, guys, all of that adding up to a loss cannot feel very good. They were going up against a very solid opponent, but yeah, that right there knocked Louisville way out of the top 25. So we'll see what they're able to do if they're able to claw back. Gonna need much better defensive play to start getting wins back on the board. They were absolutely destroyed there by the SMU running game. That's a big concern, and they didn't generate any turnovers there in the passing game or just any turnovers across the board. So this Louisville Cardinals defense really not filling me with tons of optimism. So a little bit worried about them coming into this game and kind of throughout the rest of the season. They're going to be taking on a surprisingly tough opponent here in the Virginia Cavaliers, who are 4-1 coming into this game. Their only loss this season was against Maryland. They lost that one 27-13. Last week a very nice win there, 24-14 win over Boston College. We saw some good stuff from the Cavaliers in that game, especially on defense, giving up only 14 points. Very solid accomplishment there in college football. The passing game looked good, if not elite. 15-26 for 179 yards and 1 touchdown. Not necessarily insane numbers, but no turnovers. Turnovers, a key stat here for sure. Obviously, the running game looked very good there. Kobe Pace, 19 carries, 83 yards. Good stuff there. We saw this entire Virginia team go without a turnover in the whole game, so very elite stuff there. They completely dominated the line of scrimmage there against Boston College, giving up only 65 rushing yards on 29 attempts. Virginia generated 2 interceptions and a fumble recovery, so 3 turnovers there, winning the turnover battle 3-0. Absolutely dominant stuff. So we'll see if they can carry that over to this game, guys. Very happy with what we've been seeing from Virginia. They covered for us at Stump the Spread in recent weeks with their wins against Boston College and Coastal Carolina. They are a better team than what the odds makers currently seem to think they are. Quarterback's been reducing mistakes. Playing ability puts him in the upper tier of ACC quarterbacks. Not like that's the most elite of, company, but hey, we'll give them some credit there. Louisville, I don't know, guys, not having a great time. They're coming off back-to-back disappointing losses, so maybe they're in a little bit of a bounce-back situation, but also maybe they're just not really ready for the big time here. Looking at the numbers, we see Virginia is getting 7.5 points, so they're plus 7.5. We've got an over-under of 54 out there. Louisville, 3-1-1 against the spread this year, 4-1 to the over. Virginia is 3-1-1 against the spread as well. They are 3-2 to the under. Guys, I'm not that interested in the over-under in this game. 54, maybe I would side here slightly towards the under, but I really like Virginia here at plus 7.5. Seems like an excellent spot to me. This play will definitely be going in the pinned comment. Love the Cavaliers here. They've just been playing way too well recently. Could Louisville get the win in this game? Sure. Do I think it's going to be by more than a touchdown? That is way too much respect to be giving to this Louisville Cardinals team that has not been impressing me recently. Rolling right along here, guys, we are looking at the Northern Illinois Huskies going on the road to take on the Bowling Green Falcons. Northern Illinois comes into this game fresh off of a win there over UMass. Very good stuff. 34-20 win there. Got to feel good about that. Yeah, I mean, we definitely saw some positive things from Northern Illinois. They've been one of the crazier teams this season. Very, very interesting way of running an offense, guys. They only passed the ball 10 times in that game, ran the ball 54 times for 367 yards. So they are good at running the ball, don't get me wrong. 4 rushing touchdowns there, but yeah, a little bit rough. The defense didn't look amazing. They gave up 2 passing touchdowns and 263 yards to the air. They looked okay against the run, but against a team like Massachusetts, guys, I'm not necessarily going to freak out. I mean, there's a reason Massachusetts is 1-5 on the season. They're not a very good team, so Northern Illinois definitely got to back things up here. They did have a couple turnovers in that game, so yeah, they can't be making those kind of mistakes against better opponents. I don't think UMass necessarily falls into that category, but we'll see what Northern Illinois can do here. They haven't been a team that's really like, they play a very, very odd, very smash mouth, very run first and run only kind of style. So we'll see how that works out here against Bowling Green. They come into this game 2-3 on the season, fresh off of a win there last week, a 27-20 win over Akron. So got to feel decent about that. This Bowling Green team been a little bit tough to figure out this season. We saw very good quarterback play from them last week, 24 of 30, 268 yards, no touchdowns there, so that's a little bit underwhelming, but the running game also looked good. Up and down, a very good offensive game, albeit not against the toughest opponent, but they were on the road, so got to give them some credit there. The defense looked very good. They held down the passing game, held down the running game to a large extent there. They didn't generate any turnovers, but they also only turned the ball over once themselves and were able to overcome that to win the game by a full touchdown. So pretty solid stuff there from Bowling Green last week. Kind of sneaky stuff. Guys, this is an intriguing matchup this week in the MAC. Both Bowling Green and Northern Illinois have been very competitive in their non-conference schedule against higher tier opponents. Both teams look like they'll be real threats in the MAC. It's kind of crazy that Bowling Green almost knocked off Penn State and Texas A&M in back-to-back road games, coming up just short in each one of them. These teams are fairly evenly matched, but I like the home field to be the big difference maker for Bowling Green in this one. They're only -2.5 now. We love that. Nice to see the line move in our favor here. At under a field goal, guys, I love the Bowling Green Falcons here. They're 3-2 against the spread this season, 3-2 to the under. Yeah, Northern Illinois, 2-1-2 against the spread, 2-2-1 over under. So not a lot of big trends there, but guys, I definitely think this is a great spot to be on the Bowling Green Falcons, and at that very reasonable price. I also could be talked into an underplay here. Under 47.5 doesn't sound too crazy since both teams are going to want to run the ball a decent amount, but yeah, I think the better value in this game is definitely Bowling Green to come away with the win by at least more than 2.5 points. Next up, guys, we've got a slightly more high-profile game. We've got the Arizona Wildcats going on the road to take on number 14 BYU. The Wildcats come into this game fresh off a tough loss there against Texas Tech. They had that brutal loss at Kansas State. Then they went on the road and got a big, crazy 23-10 win there over Utah. Then they followed it up with a letdown there against Texas Tech. So kind of hard to figure out what this team really is. They came into this season with pretty high expectations, and they have been quite literally all over the place. So we'll see what happens. Last week against Texas Tech, that 28-22 loss, we saw the passing game look pretty problematic. 2 interceptions, 300 yards passing, but if you get picked off twice, that pretty much cancels out everything. The running game did look good there for Arizona. I mean, we saw Conley put up 14 carries, 97 yards, and a touchdown. So great stuff there. But yeah, you cannot turn the ball over 3 times. That's how many turnovers they had in total in the game. Cannot turn the ball over 3 times in a game and expect to win very often. They generated 2 turnovers of their own on defense, so that's pretty nice. But they struggled a good amount there against the run. So that's a tough look about to go up against BYU. And yeah, we'll see what happens, but not necessarily an Arizona Arizona team that fills me with confidence. Very uneven performances on consecutive weeks. Like, this just doesn't feel like a team that can string it together from week to week. So we'll see what they can do here, but they got to go on the road here, and they are not taking on a very easy opponent. Going up against BYU has not been easy for anyone this season, guys. They're undefeated on the year. They did have a very close game at SMU, but that win is looking better and better as the games go by. Last week at Baylor, a good 34-28 win there as they avoided the letdown after a solid 38-9 win over then number 13 Kansas State. So yeah, there's a shared opponent there, and BYU did not have anywhere near the same result as Arizona had. So against Baylor, they looked very, very good in the passing game, with the exception of those 2 interceptions. Gotta take care of the ball better than that. They only had 2 total turnovers in the game. They generated 2 of their own, but man, you gotta limit those kind of mistakes against good opponents. Those are going to come back and bite you. The running game looked elite. Definitely something BYU is going to want to be leaning on in this matchup against Arizona, and being at home helps you control the clock, control the entire tempo of the game. I'm expecting BYU to have a lot of success in the ground game in this one. And guys, their defense didn't have the greatest day. Obviously, those 2 turnovers were really nice. They held down the running game, which is nice. But yeah, Arizona's going to be wanting to at least attempt to throw the ball, so we'll see how that whole dynamic goes. But really, I felt pretty decent with what I saw from the BYU defense. Good stuff out there from them, generally speaking. Those 2 turnovers came in very, very clutch. They're going to be looking to come up with a couple more turnovers in this game. So guys, looking at the trends here, looking at the numbers, first of all, guys, we've got BYU. They're at home. They're only -3 in this game. We've got an over-under of 49 out there. Arizona, 1-4 against the spread this season, 4-1 to the under this year. BYU, undefeated against the spread, guys, and undefeated on the season, but 5-0 against the spread this year, 3-2 to the over. Guys, BYU is 7-0 against the spread in their last 7 games and Arizona is 1-4 against the spread this season. I'm going with BYU -3 at home. That is not enough points. I know Arizona can have those crazy performances where they go absolutely nuts. I don't know that I trust this to be one of them, though, guys. Give me BYU at home in this one. This one has some sort of outside chance to end up in that pinned comment. Next on the docket, we're looking at the Mississippi State Bulldogs going on the road to take on the Georgia Bulldogs. Yeah, we need to figure out those mascots there in the SEC, guys. Getting a little bit redundant. But Mississippi State comes into this game not having a great time. They have now lost 4 in a row since opening their season with a cupcake win. They lost against Florida. Not the best look for to be losing games against Florida this season. And last week, they got easily handled against number 1 Texas. Now having to go on the road to take on Georgia. The SEC schedule can be pretty brutal sometimes. Last week against Texas, did not see great things from the Bulldogs. Can't feel too good about that. Gave up a lot in the passing game to Arch Manning. Didn't get too much going in the passing game themselves. The running game looked okay, but it took them 50 carries to get those 150 yards, so that's not ideal. Just only 1 turnover in the game. Maybe not the worst, but you can't make any mistakes against a team as good as Texas. So we'll see what the Bulldogs can do here. I mean, they didn't do well against the run last week. They really don't have a lot to hang their hat on coming into this game against clearly a much better opponent. Georgia comes into this game fresh off of a nice 31-13 win over Auburn. A good bounce back after that rough loss at Alabama and that crazy game that really could have went either way. Yeah, guys, against Auburn last week, I mean, Georgia took care of business. That's what we expect to see from this team. They really have to, buckle down, get sunk into this season, guys. 2 touchdowns there from Carson Beck, 240 yards, no interceptions, so good stuff there. We also saw the running game fully online there for Georgia, looking very good. 37 carries, 141 yards, and 2 touchdowns. We saw Trevor Etienne look very good, 16 carries, 88 yards, 2 touchdowns of his own. So excellent stuff out there. We saw Georgia play without turning the ball over a single time, so great there. And the defense looked good as well. They really held down the Auburn passing attack, did a good job of limiting the running attack. I wouldn't say elite. I would say they're maybe a little bit vulnerable to the run, so that'll probably be their focus here to stop the Mississippi State running attack. But overall, guys, I don't think this Georgia defense is going to be too worried with what they're seeing there across the way. So looking at the numbers for this game, guys, Georgia, massive favorites, -33.5. We have an over-under in this game of 54.5. Mississippi State, 2-3 against the spread this season, 3-2 to the over. Georgia, 1-4 against the spread this season, and 4-1 to the under. Guys, Mississippi State is 3-1 against the spread in their last 4 road games against top 15 ranked opponents. I don't think Mississippi State is a very good team, don't get me wrong, but 33.5 is a ton of points. I know they're on the road here, going to be playing in a pretty brutal environment, but you have to pretty much quit the game to lose by 33.5 points. I think we're going to see the Bulldogs keep this thing semi-attached. So my favorite lean in this one is Mississippi State plus 33.5. I don't know if this will happen, guys. I don't know if this one's going to make it into the pinned comment, but I do think there's definitely some value to be had there. In terms of the over-under, I would be leaning slightly towards the over, as I think both teams will score a little bit. But yeah, I'm not super in love with the over-under play on this game. Next on the docket, guys, we are going a little ways off the beaten path. We've got the Southern Miss Golden Eagles going on the road to take on the UL Monroe Warhawks. Southern Miss comes into this game fresh off a third straight loss, guys. Didn't have a good time last week against UL. The Raging Cajuns pretty much destroyed them there. Not a great look. I mean, 23-13, I guess destroyed is a little bit strong, but it didn't really feel like that game was ever in doubt. Southern Miss, the passing game couldn't really get going. I mean, Roadmaker, 15 of 21, 140 yards, no touchdowns, also no interceptions. But yeah, guys, you're not going to win a lot of games when you pass for 140 and run for only 37 yards. This team did not look too good out there. Very, very concerning stuff there. Yeah, the running game didn't look good. The defense didn't look too good either, guys. They gave up a lot to the run. That's a tough look. They generated 0 turnovers in the game. Just doesn't appear that this Southern Miss team is going to be very good. So we'll see what they can do here going up against UL Monroe. The Warhawks come into this game fresh off a 21-19 win over JMU last week, and at 4-1 on the season, their only loss this year was against then number 1 Texas. They lost that one 51-3. This is not a team that's at that kind of level, but I do think they're going to be pretty good out there in the Sun Belt. They're 2-0 in conference play so far. Last week against JMU, we saw some very good stuff. I mean, coming away with a very narrow win, impressive in its own right. They did have 1 passing turnover, but they did a great job of running the ball, which could be key in this specific matchup. And on defense, guys, they generated a turnover. They did a great job of limiting the passing game. They only allowed 20 of 47 passing. Like, that's very, very good stuff. So feeling pretty good about UL Monroe. The Warhawks have exceeded expectations this season. They're atop the Sun Belt division with a 2-0 record in conference play and that 4-1 record we were talking about. ULM stunned the college football landscape last week, beating James Madison, who had been in one of the hottest group of 5 teams in the nation. They picked up that win 21-19. Like I was saying, a very solid win there. The resume, one of the best teams right now in the Sun Belt. The odds makers don't seem to care about that, so we're going to go ahead and care about it right now. Southern Miss 0-1 in the Sun Belt, 1-4 overall. The Golden Eagles are coming off back-to-back awful offensive performances. They are terrible. Guys, we are very excited about this spot for UL Monroe. They're 6.5-point favorites in this game. They're playing at home. We got an over-under of 41.5. Guys, yeah, ULM 4-1 against the spread this season. They are also 4-0-1 to the under. Yeah, Southern Miss 2-3 against the spread, 4-1 to the under themselves. Guys, I think this is a fantastic spot here for the ULM. They are going to kill it out there. I'm excited about the Warhawks. This play definitely going in the pinned comment, taking them at -6.5. You could also talk me into the under 41.5 in this game, since the trends are really, really pointing that direction. But I think the value in this game is for the Warhawks to get a comfortable win and cover. Next on the docket, guys, we got number 9 Ole Miss going on the road to take on number 13 LSU. Ole Miss comes into this game playing pretty well, fresh off of a win over there against South Carolina. Not that that's the toughest opponent. They needed that win to bounce back from a tough 20-17 loss there against Kentucky. In their win last week, we saw good stuff, guys. I mean, a dominant 27-3 win. Obviously, South Carolina, not the best team, but yeah, Ole Miss really took it to them. Great in the running game, very good there in the passing game as well. Most importantly, we saw one turnover, not at the end of the world, but yeah, I mean, they generated 2 turnovers of their own. You win that turnover battle, you are very often going to be in a very good spot. So seeing them run the ball well definitely takes a load off of my mind. This is a team with a quarterback that can run the ball as well. I mean, Jackson Dart, obviously a monster out there, so expecting the good things to continue here for Ole Miss, and the defense looked good as well. They gave up a lot to the run, but not too much to the pass. They were able to bend without breaking. Going up against LSU this week, we'll see how things go. LSU comes in this game winners of 4 in a row, but they lost their toughest game of the season, and they had a shared opponent here, South Carolina. They beat 36-33, so a very close game there. We'll see what they can do here last week against, not really the toughest opponent, against South Alabama, guys. They won that game 42-10, so good stuff there for LSU, but there's not a whole ton we can take from that game. We did see them turn the ball over a couple times, so that's a bit concerning, but they probably weren't really taking that opponent 100% seriously. Over the course of the season, this has been a very good passing team here for LSU. They can really move the ball through the air. The defense, decent. I'm not going to say they're ultra elite, but, seeing decent stuff there. Looking at this matchup, guys, it's tough going on the road to play in Baton Rouge against LSU, especially when it's the second leg of a back-to-back road trip. So, yeah, that's what Ole Miss has got on their plate for this one. They looked a lot better last week in their win at South Carolina, but we're still a bit confused by the Rebels' home loss against Kentucky the week prior as huge favorites. Yeah, this is a momentum play for us with LSU, as the Tigers have shown huge improvements over the past few weeks. It really started around the second half of that 36-33 come from behind win on the road against South Carolina, and since then, the Tigers have picked up back-to-back convincing wins against UCLA and South Alabama. Yeah, freshman running back Caden Durham looks like the real deal, as the young back has put up big numbers in recent outings against South Carolina and South Alabama, and we're looking forward to seeing that continue in this game. Looking at the numbers right now, guys, we've got LSU at plus 3.5. We've got an over-under of 62 out there. Ole Miss is 5-1 against the spread this year and 5-1 to the under. LSU is 1-4 against the spread and 3-2 to the under. In terms of the over-under, guys, 62 is a lot of points, especially for a couple teams that don't mind running the ball. I'll go ahead and take that under. That's just way too big of a number for me. But in terms of the side here and in terms of my favorite play, I think this is a great momentum spot here, like I was just saying, for number 13 LSU. Getting over a field goal at home, way too good for me to pass up. Definitely give me the LSU Tigers in this game. Next up, guys, we got the Vanderbilt Commodores going on the road to take on the Kentucky Wildcats. Vanderbilt comes into this game fresh off of that absolutely epic 40-35 win over then number 1 Alabama. Absolute bedlam out there, taking down the goalpost, parading them through town. Like one of the craziest wins, one of the craziest celebrations you will ever see. A 40-35 win at home there for the Commodores. Great stuff there. They were good in the passing game. 16 of 20 passes, 2 touchdowns, 252 yards. Great there. They also looked very good in the running game. Things just all clicking there for Vanderbilt on offense. They managed to make it through this entire game without turning the ball over, which we talk about all the time. That is a key statistic. So yeah, happy for Vanderbilt there. They also generated 2 turnovers there against Alabama. So elite stuff there. They limited the Crimson Tide running attack. So yeah, just good stuff on top of other good stuff for Vanderbilt in that game. Over the course of the season, I don't know if they've been quite that good. We'll see what happens. I mean, they played a very close game there at Mizzou, but yeah, they lost a weird one at Georgia State. So we'll see what the Commodores can do here throughout the rest of what it's going to be. Obviously a very tough SEC schedule. They're taking on the Kentucky Wildcats this week. A team that's had its ups and downs this season. They're coming off a pretty big up, though, a solid 20-17 win last week over then number 6 Ole Miss. So very good stuff there from the Wildcats, a team that, like I said, has had their problems this season, but they also obviously have a lot of talent on the roster. We saw Vanda Griff put up a touchdown, 243 yards through the air. We saw the running game look kind of capable, but also, a little bit of a struggle to get those 93 yards and 1 touchdown. Most importantly, though, we saw Kentucky not turn the ball over in that game, and they forced a turnover of their own, and a lot of times that's all it's going to take. They did a really good job on defense. This is a good defensive team. Guys, I'm expecting some pretty good stuff here for, Kentucky down the stretch. We'll see if they can pull things together, but we've got a couple teams here in big letdown spots. If you can get this one over 2 full touchdowns, we like it even better. This is a potential letdown game for Vanderbilt coming off their historic win over Alabama, but we've been very high on transfer quarterback Diego Pavia and put trust in him that he'll get this group refocused. Vandy has shown they can compete on the road, taking Missouri to double overtime in that 3-point loss in Columbia. Vanderbilt has been consistently competitive and shown an ability to play up to their competition all season long. I kind of see that trend continuing here, guys. Go ahead and give me the Commodores and the points in this one. Looks like they're going to be getting 13.5 points. That is an awful lot. I understand they're in a big letdown spot, but Kentucky doesn't really seem like it's got that offensive firepower to me. I mean, Vanderbilt 4-1 against the spread. Kentucky also 4-1 against the spread. We've got mixed trends towards the over-under, and to be honest, I'm not that interested in that over-under of 44.5, but I'm very interested in Vanderbilt here at plus 13.5. Last but not least here, guys, we've got number 11 Iowa State going on the road to take on West Virginia. Iowa State comes in this game still undefeated on the season. Last week they got a solid 43-21 win over Baylor. They haven't played the toughest schedule, but they do have a win over a ranked opponent, going on the road to beat then number 21 Iowa 20-19. Last week against Baylor, guys, we saw great stuff there from the Cyclones. I mean, a pretty solid win, 43-21, like a game that was never really very much at all in doubt. Iowa State came out throwing the ball well. I mean, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 277 yards through the air, but they were dominant on the ground, guys. I mean, Jalen Jackson, 15 carries, 170 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had a 51-yard run mixed in there, so very, very good stuff from him. Carson Hansen also looked great in the running game. This is a very dangerous running duo. This is a team that is more than happy to run the ball right down your throat, and they don't have any trouble accomplishing what they want out there on the ground game. They imposed their will on Baylor, no doubt about it. Baylor just could not figure it out. They did let the Bears pass for 3 touchdowns, but this Iowa State defense didn't have to be too worried. This was a game that was well in hand all the way home. So yeah, we'll see what they do out here on defense, but the fact they generated only 1 turnover there against Baylor is a little bit concerning, but I don't think this is a defense we have to be too worried about, especially with an offense that can absolutely control the tempo of the game there on the ground. So we'll see what they can do here. Going on the road to take on West Virginia, a team that's been a little bit spicy this season. They're coming off a win over Oklahoma State last week. They've now won 2 in a row. They won at home against KU, then last week against Oklahoma State. They did play Pitt, a very close game, but in week 1 they did kind of get blown out by Penn State. Last week at Oklahoma State, guys, we saw some positive stuff. Absolutely no doubt about that. They jumped out and scored 31 points in the first half. Dominant stuff there. They're not a team that messes around with passing the ball too much, guys. They ran the ball 65 times for 389 yards last week. Crazy stuff. They'll just hand it off every play. They don't worry too much. They are in it to win it, guys. And the defense was right there with them. I mean, first of all, we did see West Virginia turn the ball over 0 times. They generated 2 turnovers of their own, so elite stuff there. They really held down the Oklahoma State passing game. They didn't give up anything on the ground, hardly at all. A dominant defensive performance. All that being said, guys, they are in for a much tougher game this week. We'll see what happens. Looking at the numbers here, guys, we've got West Virginia at +3. We've got an over-under of 53.5. Iowa State, guys, 4-1 against the spread this year and 3-2 to the over. West Virginia, 2-3 against the spread and 3-2 to the over themselves. West Virginia, guys, they are 1-9 against the spread over their last 10 games against top 15 ranked opponents when West Virginia is playing at home. Iowa State is 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 road games against non-conference opponents. Guys, I can't help but we are definitely leaning towards Iowa State here. This is a chalky play, don't get me wrong, but I just don't see any way this turns into a very close game. I think Iowa State will travel all right. They'll be able to impose their will here in the running game. Seems very, very good here. And with both teams running the ball so much, that being the main focus of both offenses, I think under 53.5, very, very live in this game. I don't think we're going to see a crazy amount of scoring. Both teams running the ball, that clock's going to keep on ticking. I think we are going to see a relatively low scoring competition. That's all the games we have for today, guys. Hit that like button for good luck on all of your bets and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let me know in the comments any questions you have on today's slate. Thanks for watching. You can click the link in the description to check out StumpTheSpread.com, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for more sports betting action.